Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcoming back to My Digital World, brought to you by Tempus Network, is our regular contributor, CEO of Tempus Network, Shahal Khan. And today he is joined by the beautiful Nikita Sachdev. She's an Indian-American serial entrepreneur and investor. She's also the founder and CEO of Luna PR, headquartered in Dubai. They are an award-winning PR and marketing agency that focuses on the Fintech and Web3 industries with expertise in NFTs, crypto, and blockchain. Today, we are chatting about how GameFi is becoming the next Silicon Valley for investors and what the cryptocurrency tie-in is all about. We'll also chat about how the United Arab Emirates is paving the way for all things Web 3.0. They are both coming on in just a few, but as they get settled into the broadcast room, let's chat. Now, if there's one thing that can be said for anything remotely connected to the internet and a computer screen, it's that if it's salacious, and that's me being polite in my mom terms, or if it's a video game, it's probably going to survive market turmoil. Now, the video game industry is currently priced at approximately $180 billion, with the GameFi sector making up 21 billion of it. Now, if Web 3.0 is about to disrupt the industry as Web 2 did in the 2000s, then venture capital fund managers have a lot of reason to pay close attention to the gaming sector. GameFi isn't just another opportunity for these VC funds. It's changing how and who gets to invest in new projects. So what happens when you open the GameFi ownership economy to a gaming industry that can amass audiences larger than the Super Bowl? Well, you get a new class of creative entrepreneurs and Silicon Valley VC funds very eager to invest. And here to chat further are Shahal Khan and Nikita Sachdev. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Hi, thanks so much for having us.
Hi, Zen.
Shahal, so nice to have you on. Nikita, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's an honor to chat with you today. All right, Shahal. This is quite interesting. Last year, Andreessen Horowitz, which is a private American venture capital firm, invested $4.6 million in a leading gaming guild. Not an enormous amount in relevant terms, but with a $2.2 billion crypto fund in place, the venture capital firm is actively allocating. Now, this is a largely untapped economic opportunity in emerging markets that will clearly provide jobs by building a virtual economy in the digital world. And this sector is making us all rethink and redefine employment. Is this the rise of the creator economy by default from your point of view?
I think it's going to have a big part of it. And I was just in Dubai where I met Nikita, and I was with several people in the UAE government. And, they're doing amazing things. Like, Abu Dhabi is going to release a sovereign-backed coin, a stable coin very soon, backed by a massive amount of their capital. The exact amount, I'm not going to say, because obviously they're going to be, doing it soon. And, they'll be talking about it. The government is also releasing regulations for exchanges and digital assets that can be moved from digital wallets to exchanges to different platforms. That means that people are going to be able to earn on different platforms and then exchange those assets in terms of earning. So you need regulation. You need a platform with liquidity. And I think from what I saw in the UAE, it's going to be massive, and they're going to be leading that charge. I was very happy to see what Nikita is doing on the PR front. And there's a really cool metaverse that's going to be launching soon called the Star Metaverse that she's going to be heading up there. That is taking sports, it's taking fashion, it's taking celebrities into this one metaverse. And it's going to allow these people and people that engage with them to engage and earn on that platform. So I think the capital is going to come in surrounding the sort of areas where there's a sort of I would say a condensation of all these activities.
Interesting, because the more, if you really think of it from a big picture, the more people that come into these play to earn communities, the more value for those coins. So, it's no different from traditional equity in that regard. The more people that buy Apple phones over others, the more value investors give to Apple. So, there's always the risk that Apple becomes the next, BlackBerry, so to speak. But all of these blockchain games are communities, and many of them are set up so players can earn. And of course, cryptocurrency is at the center of it all. Nikita, I want to get your point of view with respect to the blockchain market. So the blockchain market is still in its early years, essentially, and the NFT games alone generated $2.3 billion in revenue in the third quarter of this year of 2022. So the overall gaming industry is set to reach $203 billion by this year. And we know that the United Arab Emirates is at the front of a lot of Web 3.0 activity. What do you say to this? And are investors eager?
Initially, Dubai was the UAE was just like any other country where they were skeptical about getting in. But I think Dubai is really trying to be at the forefront of technology and innovation. So I think once they realized that blockchain is so much more than cryptocurrency, they realized that they should start thinking about how to implement it in several different areas. NFTs is one use case of blockchain. Cryptocurrencies are another use case of blockchain. And now we're seeing a lot of government entities actually implement blockchain within their ecosystems. So, for example, we're working with the Museum of the Future, which has recently announced that they will be NFTing the panels. The Museum of the Future is a very iconic building here in Dubai, and it has the ruler of Dubai's words kind of transcribed on the panels. So it's very artistic. It's very meaningful for the country. So they've decided to NFT the actual panels of the museum. So people here can feel like they actually own a piece of history, like they own a piece of legacy. That's just one use case of it, but there's so many use cases and so many benefits of implementing blockchain.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And if you look at the statistics, and Shahal, you could pipe in here, Dubai stated in March of 2022 that it had enacted a new cryptocurrency law to oversee the activities of digital assets and cryptocurrencies, as it really is striving to become a Web 3.0 powerhouse. And the UAE intends to establish a Dubai Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority under the new law, which will be in charge of regulating blockchain-based virtual assets. Shahal, I know you're a big fan of regulation. What do you say to this?
Well, I've always said that you need regulation to a certain degree to have digital assets become global. And I think the UAE, broken up in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and also RAK, Ras Al Khaimah. I was honored enough to meet the Emir of Ras Al Khaimah before I came back. They're kind of positioning themselves in different regulatory aspects. And when you combine all three Emirates under the UAE, you have almost like a base where investors as well as entrepreneurs can choose different parts of the emirate based on what they want to achieve. So Abu Dhabi is really leading with sheer capital and a market where you'll have a backup for your assets with capital, real stable coin capital, let's say, behind it, allowing people to be able to be safe in terms of their valuation of their actual currency not plummeting. Dubai is innovating with allowing entrepreneurs a very easy environment to set up and start their businesses. RK is going into sports betting and gaming, which is allowing people to come in a regulated environment and do gaming and sports betting, which is extremely innovative for a country that is within an Islamic framework. So if you put all three together, you're really getting the capability for the entire universe to be regulated and sort of safeguarded from let's say risk, which is very important for this to take off.
So some investors, guys, they see the blockchain game world merging with the metaverse world and becoming its own economy. There's a real opportunity for metaverse economies at this point to empower their player bases across the globe in a way we really haven't seen before in gaming. And it's one of the things that blockchain games seems to be doing, making viable digital economies that are for players by players. Nikita, what do you say to this?
So yeah, I mean, I feel like the gaming world kind of introduced the metaverse in the first place. So I don't really see it as like emerging into the metaverse. I see like gaming was always something like the metaverse, but it's definitely more immersive now. You can put on an Oculus, you can play with your friends, you definitely feel like you're more involved, and it has created an economy, like you said, where you can also get involved and purchase things within the metaverse in an NFT form. So you really own it. You can earn money via cryptocurrency. So it just makes gaming a lot more realistic.
Shahal, yeah, I couldn't agree more. It makes gaming realistic and it's solving real world issues. Shahal, what are your thoughts here?
I think that it needs to continue to grow in terms of it's just the beginning of it. So development of games across the board, and also development of actual, I would say, metaverses and workflows that allow people to come in and participate. For example, charities, education, but gamifying those aspects where there's a program within the metaverse where people achieve certain goals to build something together that can also come into the real world and do benefit. They're actually creating equity value and they're earning it behind the coin. That's really going to become, I think, the super force for this as an economic tool. And it'll really now separate platforms that we have today that are not data sovereign, and really get new platforms that are giving people ownership of the data and their work and compensating them for it. And as you know, Nikita has always said, it's all about community, and around their communities are going to be formed and they're going to support each other. Simply put, I think that's the future.
That is the future. And when you look at GameFi, GameFi is expanding and maturing very quickly. Games are moving into a wider range of genres, such as these role-playing games, right? And first-person shooter games that have this crazy mass market appeal and are really designed from the onset to deliver this PlayStation-like gamer experience. Now, what we've seen is over the past year, GameFi has grown by 2,000%. In the first quarter of this year, before the Ukraine war and really inflation caused sell-offs in the markets, blockchain games raised about $2.5 billion in venture funding. Now, I don't know, will that go kerplop? What is your expert opinion? Nikita, you go first.
No, I mean, I definitely see like GameFi is huge. So at Luna PR, we also have a VC division, Luna VC, and some of our most successful projects that we've invested in have been GameFi projects. And another thing I just want to add to that, so just about UAE, the investors here are very much interested in any Web3 projects, especially GameFi. So much so that there are actually places here where you can put on an Oculus and go into a metaverse and actually experience it, which I haven't really seen in any other country. So I feel like people here, investors, have a lot more to relate to. I don't think this industry is going to flop at all. I think it's going to grow bigger.
I couldn't agree more. I am a huge enthusiast. Shahal, what are your thoughts on this?
I think that there's, as we come out of COVID and God knows, what other headache that continues to come onto our sort of economic and geopolitical scene, we have a tremendous amount of population that just don't want to go back to work. And they don't want to be, having menial job, sort of income in the Western markets, as well as the Asian markets, in themselves. They have other opportunities. They're going to pay them more money just being on these metaverses and creating content. So I think we're going to come out of what has happened during COVID and have a whole new area of economic and job growth. And I think this is going to be one of the main areas.
Well said. Well said. You hit it right on. Guys, we're really out of time, but it's always enlightening having you on. Nikita, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure. Shahal, always love having you come back on as a regular.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thanks, Nikita.
That was My Digital World, brought to us by Tempus Network. Please check out Nikita Sachdev at Luna PR, on the gram at lunapr.io, and make sure you check out tempus.network. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.